Hello everyone. Before we dive into tonight's accounts, I have a small request. If you find yourself looking over your shoulder or feeling that chill down your spine while listening, please hit the like button and subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel and ensures that these stories keep coming your way. I also want to hear from you. Drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're watching from and exactly what time it is for you. I was driving home from my sister's place in rural eastern Kentucky, late on a Saturday night. She lives out in the county on a road that I've driven maybe a dozen times, but not enough that I have it memorized, especially in the dark. It was close to 11, and I was tired, and I missed my turn somewhere in a stretch where the roads all look the same. No streetlights, no landmarks, just tree line on both sides, and the occasional reflective mailbox post. I drove for probably 4 or 5 minutes before I accepted that something was off. The road I should have been on feeds back to the state highway within about 2 miles, and I'd been going longer than that without hitting it. I slowed down looking for somewhere to turn around, and that's when my headlights caught a sign on the right shoulder. State road maintenance ends here. That's the sign. The plain green one they put up where the county stops taking responsibility for the surface. Past that point, the road is on whoever owns the property, and in rural Kentucky, that can mean anything from a well-kept gravel lane to something that'll bottom out a normal vehicle in the first 100 yards. I stopped in front of the sign and looked at my phone. No signal. I had maybe a mile of battery left on the GPS from when I'd last had data, and it was showing me on an unnamed road with no routing available. I decided to just turn around and go back the way I came until I found something I recognized. The road past the sign went another 30 or 40 yards and then opened into a wide area where several driveways split off into the trees. Not a neighborhood. More like a place where a handful of properties all happen to share the same access point before going their separate ways into the woods. There were maybe 5 or 6 of them fanning out from this small turnaround area. No lights on in any of the houses visible down the drives, no vehicles out, nothing moving. Just this crude little circle of dark driveways going off into the trees at 11 at night. The turnaround area was tight. I had to do a multi-point turn to get the car facing back the way I came, which meant I was maneuvering slowly in a small space with my headlights sweeping across the tree line and the driveway mouths as I went back and forth. I was on the last point of the turn, just about to straighten up and pull out, when I caught something in my driver's side mirror. At the mouth of the driveway directly to my left, just at the edge where the gravel met the road surface, something had stepped out of the tree line. I stopped the car. It was standing maybe 10 feet behind me and slightly to the left. My mirror gave me a clear enough view that I could make out the shape of it in the ambient light from my taillights. Large. 7 feet at least. Maybe more, but not standing straight. There was a hunch to it, a forward lean at the shoulders that made the height hard to judge exactly. It was covered in something dark and textured that I processed as hair before I'd made a conscious decision about what I was looking at. It wasn't facing me directly. It was turned at an angle like it had stopped mid-stride and was looking at my car from the side rather than head-on. But it was absolutely looking at the car. There was an orientation to it, an attention that was unmistakable even in the mirror and even in bad light. It was completely still. I want to try to describe what happened in my body when I registered what I was seeing, because I think it matters. It wasn't the gradual building fear you get in a scary movie. It was immediate and total. A wave of dread that hit me all at once like cold water. the specific feeling that I was in a situation my body understood, even though my brain was still catching up. Every part of me said go, not carefully, not after a second look, just go. I straightened the wheel and pulled out of that turnaround at a speed that was not appropriate for the road surface. My mirror cleared the driveway mouth, and the figure was gone from my field of view within about 3 seconds, and I did not slow down until I hit the state maintenance sign, and then I did not slow down much after that either. I got back to a road I recognized and pulled over and sat there for a few minutes with the engine running and every light in the car on. I went back over what I'd seen in that mirror, probably 30 times on the drive home. I know what a person looks like from behind at 10 feet. I know what a person looks like hunched over, in a heavy coat, in poor light, in any configuration that might explain away what I saw. I've been through all of those and I can't make them work. The proportions were wrong for a person in any combination of clothing and posture I can construct. The height was wrong. The width across the shoulders was wrong. And there was something about the texture of it, the way the tail light reflected off the surface of whatever was covering it, that did not match fabric. It also was not a bear. I grew up in that part of Kentucky. I know what a bear looks like in the dark at the side of a road. Bears don't stand. Not like that. Not with that kind of stillness. Not oriented towards something with that quality of attention. I worked the closing shift at a long-term care facility in a rural part of western Tennessee. It's not glamorous work, but it's steady. And I've been doing it long enough that the late hours don't bother me anymore. Most nights I'm pulling out of the parking lot somewhere between midnight and 12:30, depending on how handoff goes. And the drive home is about 50 minutes through some of the most empty road in the county. Small towns that shut down completely after 7. Farmland on both sides. Stretches where you can go 4 or 5 miles without seeing a single light anywhere except your own headlights. I've made that drive probably 1,000 times. Nothing ever happens on it. That's the whole point of living out there. This was late spring of 2019, a night, maybe 12:40 in the morning. I came around a long curve where the road dips between 2 low hills, and my headlights swept across a man on the right shoulder. He was standing, which was the first thing. Standing, but wrong. Weight shifted, one arm hanging differently than the other, the posture of someone whose body is making compensations it hasn't told them about yet. As I got closer, I could see dark staining on his shirt and down his left arm. A lot of it. I slowed down. I know there are 100 versions of this situation that end badly for the person who stops, and I ran through most of them in the 2 seconds it took me to reduce my speed. But I work in healthcare. I have done it for 11 years. Leaving a person standing on the side of a dark rural road who is visibly injured and covered in blood is not something my body would let me do, regardless of what my brain was saying about it. I pulled onto the shoulder maybe 30 feet ahead of him and rolled my window down halfway. He came toward the car fast, not limping, not struggling, moving fast despite whatever was wrong with him, and that speed registered in some animal part of me before I'd consciously processed it. He got to my passenger door and grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. He went around the back of the car to the driver's side and grabbed that handle. Also locked. I had locked everything the moment he started moving toward me, again before I'd made a conscious decision about it. He pressed up against the driver's window, blood on his face, blood on both hands, and the smell of it coming through the gap in my window. He was talking fast, telling me he'd been hit by a car, telling me he needed to get in the back seat and lie down, telling me I needed to let him in right now. I told him I was calling 911 and that help was coming and to stay where I could see him. He didn't stay where I could see him. He kept moving around the car, trying every door, smearing blood on the windows and the door panels, and I kept the engine running and my foot near the brake and dialed 911 with one hand while watching him in every mirror. The 911 call was a problem from the start. The spot where this happened sits almost exactly on the line between two counties, and the dispatcher I reached wasn't certain which jurisdiction it fell under. She put me on hold. I sat on hold on a dark rural road with a bleeding man circling my car at 12:40 in the morning, while the dispatcher figured out who was responsible for sending help. When she came back, I gave her a description, and when I gave her his name, he told me his name while he was at my window. She went quiet for just a second and then said something that I've thought about many times since. She said his name in a way that wasn't a question, like she recognized it. Then she said, "Help was on its way and stay on the line." I stayed on the line. He eventually stopped trying the doors and sat down on the shoulder behind my car, which I did not love, but was better than him continuing to circle. I could see him in my rearview mirror. He was holding his left arm against his chest and rocking slightly. A sheriff's deputy arrived about 20 minutes later, followed a few minutes after that by an ambulance from the county on the other side of the line. I got out when the deputy got out and pulled my gloves from my work bag. I keep a pair in there out of habit, and went to assist with the man on the shoulder. His injuries were real: fractures, road rash, the kind of damage that comes from a body interacting with asphalt at speed. He had genuinely been hit by a vehicle or had gone through a windshield or something in that category. The ambulance crew took over quickly, and I stepped back and talked to the deputy. What the deputy told me while we stood on the shoulder of that road at 1 in the morning took a minute to settle in. The man was known to them, known to several departments across 2 counties, which explained the dispatcher's reaction when I gave her the name. He had active warrants, multiple felony charges, not minor stuff. Earlier that same evening, he had stolen a vehicle from a driveway in a town about 12 miles up the road. He had apparently lost control of it somewhere in the dark and put it into a ditch or a field and walked away from it. The deputy said they'd been looking for him since a report came in a couple hours before my call. So the car that hit him was probably the car he stole, or he ran it himself and walked away from it. Either way, he'd been moving along that back road in the dark for a while before I came around that curve. I drove home with blood on my car windows and blood on my door panels, and I sat in my driveway for a while before going inside. The part that stays with me is the dispatcher's voice when I gave her his name. That small pause, and then the recognition in it. The way she said it back like she was confirming something she already knew, rather than hearing it for the first time. She knew who he was before I finished saying it, which means if I had let him into my car when he first asked, I would have had a man with active felony warrants and a stolen vehicle and whatever else he was carrying that night sitting in my back seat on a dark rural road 50 minutes from anywhere. I've been doing that drive for 7 years. I've stopped for people before, broken down cars, a woman with a flat tire once, an elderly man who drifted off the road and needed someone to call his family. It has always been fine. That night was the first time stopping felt immediately, physically wrong in a way I couldn't rationalize past. The speed he came at the car, the way he went for the handle before he'd said a single word to me. A person who needs help asks for it. They don't grab. I still make that drive every night. I still stop when something looks genuinely wrong on the shoulder. But my doors lock the moment someone starts moving toward me, and they stay locked until I decide otherwise. That decision gets made a lot faster than it used to. I did 8 years as a night security patrol officer for a private contractor that covered a stretch of rural industrial properties in western Oklahoma. Pipeline facilities mostly, some agricultural storage, a few unmanned relay stations that needed regular drive-by checks to satisfy insurance requirements. The work sounds more interesting than it was. 90% of it was driving the same routes in the same order, checking the same gates, logging the same nothing to report entries in the same logbook, night after night. The roads connecting these properties were mostly county backroads and state highways that saw almost no traffic between 10 at night and 5 in the morning. You could drive for 40 minutes without seeing another vehicle. You got comfortable with that. You had to, or you'd go crazy. This was in the late 80s, my 3rd year on the job. I was 26. I'd done enough night shifts by then that the dark didn't produce anything in me except mild boredom. I'd seen deer, coyotes, the occasional drunk driver I'd have to call in, a few domestic disturbance situations at farmhouses near the route. Nothing that stayed with me, nothing I couldn't file away. I was running the northern section of my route on a Wednesday night, maybe 2 in the morning. The road was a 2-lane county highway that cut through flat scrubland for about 18 miles between 2 pipeline relay stations. No houses on it, no driveways, no cross streets for the middle 10 miles or so. Just the road and the scrub on both sides, and my headlights doing their usual job. About 7 miles into that stretch, I saw 2 people on the right shoulder, standing side by side and facing the road. Both of them had one arm raised, not waving exactly, more like holding an arm up the way you do when you want a vehicle to stop. The posture of someone flagging down help. I slowed down. It was 2 in the morning on a road with no reason for foot traffic, but I'd been trained to stop for people on the shoulder. It was part of the job. And 2 people standing together suggested maybe a broken down vehicle somewhere nearby that I hadn't spotted yet. I pulled onto the shoulder about 30 feet ahead of where they'd been standing and put the car in park and looked in my mirror. Nobody there. I turned around in my seat and looked through the rear window. The shoulder was empty. The road behind me was empty. The scrubland on both sides was flat and low. Shin-high brush. Nothing tall enough to step behind. No trees, into no drainage cuts. Nowhere for 2 people to go in the 3 seconds between me seeing them and me stopping. I sat there for a moment and then got out with my flashlight and walked back along the shoulder to where they'd been. The shoulder was soft dirt and gravel, and my boots left clear impressions in it. There were no other impressions. No boot prints, no scuff marks, nothing in the soft dirt that indicated 2 people had been standing there. I walked the shoulder in both directions for 100 feet or so and found nothing. I shone the flashlight out into the scrubland on both sides, flat and open and empty as far as the beam reached. I went back to the car. I'm going to try to describe my state of mind at this point accurately. I was unsettled, but not panicked. I had a practical turn of mind back then, still do, and I was running through the rational explanations as I walked back to the car. Fatigue and highway hypnosis can produce visual artifacts, especially on a straight empty road at 2 in the morning. I'd been on shift for 6 hours. It was possible. I wasn't fully committed to that explanation, but I was willing to carry it until something better came along. I got in the car, put my seatbelt on, reached for the gear shift. Then I looked in the rear view mirror. They were in the back seat, both of them. Sitting in the back seat of my car, one behind the driver's seat and one behind the passenger seat, visible from the chest up in the mirror. Same posture as when they'd been standing on the shoulder, upright, still, oriented forward. I could see them clearly enough in the mirror to know that where their faces should have been, there was nothing that resembled a face. Not masked, not in shadow, just an absence of the features that make a human head a human head. Smooth and undefined and wrong in a way that my brain kept trying to correct and couldn't. I do not remember deciding to accelerate. The car was moving before I had consciously issued any instruction to make it move. My foot found the gas and the car was doing 60 before I'd processed anything beyond what I'd seen in that mirror. I didn't look back. I didn't check the mirror again. I drove that remaining section of highway at a speed that was not safe for the road, and I did not reduce it until I hit the lit forecourt of the relay station at the far end of the route and pulled in under the lights and stopped the car. I sat there with every light in the car on and the engine running and my hands on the wheel for a long time. Eventually, I turned around and looked at the back seat. Empty. Both of them gone, the same way they'd been gone from the shoulder. The seat fabric undisturbed. The door locks still engaged. I checked them, both locked. Both had been locked since I'd gotten back in after walking the shoulder. I finished my shift. I don't know how. Muscle memory and the specific stubbornness of someone who doesn't want to be the guy who couldn't finish his route because of something he couldn't explain. I told my supervisor the next morning that I'd had a visual disturbance on the northern route and needed the night off. He didn't ask questions. I took 2 nights off and went back to work. I ran that route for another 5 years after it happened. I ran the northern section the same as always, same timing, same checks, same road. I never saw anything on that shoulder again. I never found any explanation for what I saw in the mirror that I could fully stand behind. The fatigue and highway hypnosis explanation works for the figures on the shoulder. It's not comfortable, but it's possible. I was 6 hours into a night shift on a straight empty road at 2 in the morning. That combination does things to perception. It does not work for the rear view mirror. The back doors of that car were locked. I had locked them when I got in at the start of my shift, the way I always did, out of habit, and they were still locked when I checked them at the relay station. Both of them, locked from the inside. 2 locked doors and 2 things in my back seat that looked like people from the chest up and had nothing where their faces should have been. I've been over it a lot of times across a lot of years. I've landed in the same place every time. I don't have a version of that night that makes complete sense, and I've stopped expecting one. What I do know is that I never again pulled onto a shoulder on that northern stretch without checking the back seat before I put the car in park. Some habits you pick up and can't put back down.